Hello, welcome to the India Story, the show tailor-made from India for a global audience. I'm Vikram Chandra, and this week we've lined up a series of really important topics to discuss. We're going to start, of course, by taking a look at the 5-day special session of Parliament, but we are also going to be addressing a pressing issue that concerns the citizens of northern India greatly. Air pollution. Yes, air pollution season is approaching. And according to a recent study, that could potentially reduce the average life expectancy of residents of Delhi, for example, by nearly 12 years. Later in the show, we're going to start looking at that race for 2024 that is starting to build up. Author Minhas Merchant joins us. He's just written a book where he examines Prime Minister Modi's decade-long influence on India's politics and his prospects for the general elections in 2024. And we have a really special guest with us as the Asian Games have kicked off and all eyes are on what's happening out there. India's chess prodigy, Pragnananda, joins us right here on the India Story. He's been making waves on the global chess scene and he's going to be joining us on this program. So a great lineup for you, but let me start off by taking you through the major headlines at this hour.
India has indefinitely suspended new visa services for Canada, describing the country as a safe haven for terrorists, extremists and organized crime. This after Justin Trudeau alleged a potential Indian government link in the killing of a Khalistani separatist, Hardeep Singh Nijjar, without offering any supporting evidence. A sign of the growing crisis in relations between the two countries, the Canadian High Commission in India has also been asked to downsize its number of diplomats to achieve parity in numbers between both missions in India and Canada, the Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson said on September 21st. Earlier, amid a tense standoff between both countries, India's National Investigation Agency released a list of 43 individuals associated with a terror gangster network that reportedly has connections to Canada. In their post, the NIA shared photographs and names of individuals such as Lawrence Bishnoi, Jasdeep Singh, and Joginder Singh, emphasizing that many of these gangsters are believed to be based in Canada. The agency has appealed to the public to provide information regarding the properties and assets owned by these individuals, which could potentially be subject to government takeover. Meanwhile, gangster-turned-terrorist Sukhdev Singh, alias Sukha Duneke, a close associate of the slain Khalistani terrorist Hardeep Singh Nijjar, was allegedly shot dead by unidentified gunmen in Canada on 20th of September. Sukhdev Singh was on the National Investigation Agency's most wanted list after he fled to Canada on a fake passport in 2017. He was among the members of the Canada-linked terror gangster network.
But let's start by taking a look at that special session of Parliament, something that had created so many headlines, so much speculation, so many questions of what was going to happen. Well, this is what actually happened at that special session of Parliament. Here's our detailed analysis.
History was scripted in India's Parliament after the upper house approved a bill reserving 1/3 of seats in the Lok Sabha and state assemblies for women on Thursday. The landmark bill garnered unanimous support, with all 214 MPs present voting in favour.
The bill is passed by the constitutionally required majority.
Passionate debates unfolded in the Rajya Sabha as leaders from across party lines expressed their views on this historic bill.
2029 में महिला आरक्षित महिलाएं हमारी एमपी बन करके आ जाएंगी, ये बात पक्की है। लेकिन अगर आप आज पास नहीं करते हो तो 2029 में भी नहीं आना, ये भी तय है।
कल करने का आज करो, आज करने का अब करो, और फिर तो पल में प्रलय होगा तो फिर करेंगे कब?
The momentum had already been set earlier in the week when the Lok Sabha passed the 128th Constitution Amendment Bill, which seeks to provide 33% reservation to women in the Lok Sabha and state assemblies with an overwhelming 454-2 majority.
नारी शक्ति को एक विशेष सम्मान सिर्फ विधेयक पारित होने से मिल रहा है ऐसा नहीं है। इस विधेयक के प्रति देश के सभी राजनीतिक दलों की सकारात्मक सोच होना, ये हमारे देश की नारी शक्ति को एक नई ऊर्जा देने वाली है।
हमने तब से लेकर अब तक महिला उत्थान के लिए विभिन्न इकाइयों के माध्यम से, योजनाओं के माध्यम से प्रयास किए।
While the opposition parties supported the bill, they argued that it was incomplete as it did not include a quota for women from the OBC category.
भारतीय राष्ट्रीय कांग्रेस की मांग है कि यह बिल फौरन अमल में लाया जाए, लेकिन इसके साथ ही कास्ट सेंसस कराकर शेड्यूल ट्राइब, ओबीसीज की महिलाओं के आरक्षण की व्यवस्था की भी जाए।
The question of women's reservation requires action, not the placebo of legislatively mandated procrastination. To the government and the ruling party, I say this: give us this day our equal rights. We hold up half the sky. Give us at least a third of our earth.
MM leader Asaduddin Owaisi and his party's MP Imtiaz Jalil were the only two who voted against it, questioning why OBC and Muslim women who have even less representation in parliament were not given quotas.
This is a woman deception bill. This is a check bounce bill. This is an anti-OBC and Muslim women bill. This is a distraction bill. This is not an inclusive bill. This is an exclusive bill.
The bill was officially introduced in the Lok Sabha back in 1996. After waiting for approval for 27 years, it has finally been passed by Parliament. However, the actual implementation of the bill will have to wait. It will come into effect only by 2029, following the delimitation of Lok Sabha constituencies, which will be carried out after the next census. This population census is expected to take place after the 2024 general elections.
"12 years. How much time is 12 years? That's calling it 144 months or 625 weeks or 4,000 days capture all of your experiences during that time. It can be difficult to imagine everything that can actually happen over 12 years. So here's a little help. 12 years? In 12 years, a newborn baby becomes an adolescent child. In 12 years, you can build not one, but 2 Burj Khalifas, the tallest building in the entire world. In the last 12 years, Mukesh Ambani's wealth went from $21 billion to $95 billion in 12 years. Gautam Adani has gone from $4 billion to $150 billion or thereabouts. Artificial intelligence become a common phrase these days. 12 years ago, the company behind ChatGPT had not even been founded. The point I'm making, a lot can happen in 12 years. But if you live in Delhi, you might never experience it. That's because the residents of Delhi can lose nearly 12 years of their lives due to air pollution. That's according to a recent study. It says that air pollution can cut life expectancy in Delhi by 11.9 years on average. And the 2023 report is worse than the 2022 edition, which said that Delhiites can lose 10 years of their life due to pollution. Residents of Delhi's satellite cities of Noida and Gurugram can also lose 11 years of their life. And I know every time we talk about air pollution, people keep saying, oh, it's about Delhi. It is not about Delhi. It's not about the national capital region. It would be bad if it was, but actually, the situation is worse because that toxic air, that polluted air, that loss of life, that morbidity that we see is across the entire Indo-Gangetic plain. Millions and millions of people live here. not just millions and millions. 500 million people live in that entire region. They all suffer from that bad air, and they all lose years of their life thanks to that bad air. The average life expectancy due to air pollution across India, 5.3 years due to bad air. All of these are findings in a report named Air Quality Life Index by the Energy Policy Institute of the University of Chicago. It found, of course, that Delhi, and I'm coming back to Delhi because that's what has become the poster child, if you like, for this entire problem. But everything that I'm going to say about Delhi in the next few minutes can be extrapolated to the entire region because it is not only Delhi that does it. Delhi, of course, may well be the most polluted mega city in the world, but in other areas, the situation is just as bad. Now, researchers looked at data from 2021, where Delhi's average annual pollution was 126.5 micrograms of particulate matter per cubic meter of air. The WHO says it should be at maximum 5 micrograms of PM 2.5. India's national standard is 40 micrograms. So even if Delhi was to somehow reduce pollution to India's national standards, residents would still not be at the level that they should be. They will still lose something like 8 years of their life, and that's according to the researchers. So remember, you've got 3 different things. What it should be, as per the WHO, which means next to nothing. Please have it at 5 or less. Then you have India's national standards, somewhat higher. Then you have the levels that are there in most of the Indo-Gangetic Plain, which are higher. And then, of course, you have the real toxic hotspots like the NCR. And that's the scale that also shows you just how bad the problem is. And that just shows you why we are talking about this. Because there is a seasonal element of this. And we are approaching the crisis months. Now, let me just try to put the harmful effects of air pollution into some perspective. Why is it a problem? And let's just go to some of the health facts. Multiple studies have done it, and the Chicago University report once again takes a look at it. We all know what happens. Cardiovascular diseases cut an average Indian's life expectancy by 4.5 years. Child and maternal malnutrition reduces it by 1.8 years. Used to be much worse earlier, but now that's what the level is. What actually happens when you breathe in polluted air? This is what doctors say actually happens. In the heart, polluted air may cause arteries to harden and blood to thicken, causing clots and blockages. Dirty air might also increase stroke risk and could potentially cause dementia, Parkinson's, or Alzheimer's disease. Air pollution may also increase the risk of miscarriage, of premature birth, and lower male fertility. And when it comes to the lungs, bad air can cause so many things. It can cause coughing and irritation in the short run. It may also increase the risk of bronchitis and asthma in the long term. It can also increase the risk of anemia in women. The situation is bad and the situation is horrible. How horrible? I mean, consider how much we all hear about when it comes to cigarette smoking. By now, we all know that cigarette smoking is bad for you. If you pick up a packet of cigarettes, look at the picture that you see out there. It's to shock you. It's to tell you that this is something really bad for you. Now, how are you going to put a health warning around living in northern India? Not just Delhi, but all across the Indo-Gangetic Plains, the northern plains. How do you have a health warning on that? Breathing and living your life here, especially in the winters, is bad for you. How do you say that? 77 of the world's most polluted districts are in India. 50 of the world's most polluted districts based on PM 2.5 levels are in India's northern plains. The entire Indian population does live in areas with pollution above the WHO standard, but 67.4% of India's population live in areas with pollution above India's own clean air standards, and that's the real worry. Very few countries actually do meet the WHO levels. Let's be fair on that. Even there are hardly any countries that are able to do that. But we're not being able to meet our own standards, and that's a cause of concern. Across the country, PM 2.5 levels rose 9.5% between 2013 and 2021. That's the other worry. The National Capital Region, of course, the most polluted hotspot in India, but the entire Indo-Gangetic Plain struggles with it. Why does it do so? Experts say it is a mix of natural and human factors. The area is fertile, so it has had a larger concentration of people, even historically. Currently, the northern plains have a population density which is nearly 3 times that of the rest of India, also much higher than the rest of the world. So if there is more air pollution out here, you could argue that it's only to be expected, because that population does mean more agriculture, more cars, more industries, and other activities that can lead to air pollution. It can't be avoided. There are more people out here, heavy population density, you will have more impact of that. But on top of this, geological features and weather patterns trap bad air in the region, specifically in the winter times. And when it comes to the worst hotspot like Delhi, the government has actually identified different sources of pollution in winter and in summer. In winter, it's stubble burning, it's firecrackers, it's open air fires, made worse by the weather patterns like slow airspeed, no dispersion, and potentially fog. In the summer months, which is much better, let's face it, the main pollution sources are dust, landfill fires, and vehicular emissions. Now, 4 months ago, the Delhi government announced a summer action plan to counter air pollution. The 14-point plan included the usage of a real-time source apportionment study, controlling dust pollution, controlling open burning, keeping industrial air pollution under check, improving solid waste management, increasing green cover, and developing city forests, along with trying to have lakes and water bodies, creating e-waste eco-parks, holding dialogues with neighboring states. Now, all of this did come into place. But now, with winter approaching, that sense of panic, I guess, starts to build up, because we know how bad the winters are. Whatever happens in summers, nothing compares to what happens in winters. And the government is working on a plan. The plan includes cloud sealing for artificial rain on severe AQI days, having separate action plans for 13 hotspots, encouraging the use of public transport, training construction workers to reduce dust pollution, and spreading awareness among security firms, for example, to stop bonfires at night by guards. Now, over the last few years, there has been a big effort across northern India to try and stop stubble burning, for example, which contributes so severely to bad air in this entire region in autumn months. Also, infrastructure development like the peripheral expressways have also reduced some vehicular pressure on the air of this entire region. So let's hope those solutions and the others that are being discussed start to pay off. We've heard the Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal saying that air pollution is down by some 30%. We heard the Union Minister for Roads and Transportation, Nitin Gadkari, talking to us on the India Story earlier this year and saying within a couple of days, air pollution should be down by 50-60%. And that's good. That's important, because not only is it a major factor, obviously, for the health of citizens, which is the most important thing, but it's also an important aspect of the India Story. We've had that fantastic G20 summit and those great images coming out of Delhi. We really shouldn't have those replaced a couple of months later with pictures of toxic smoke and people coughing and the impact of that haze on health. So let's hope that something gets done. Hope springs eternal. Every year we hope. This year it's going to be different. And who knows, maybe this year it actually will be. But to discuss this in greater detail, Anumita Roy Chaudhary is joining us. She's writer, Executive Director of Research and Advocacy at the Center for Social Science. She's somebody who's worked very intensively on the question of air pollution. And Dr. G.C. Khilnani is also joining us, the chairman of the PSRI Institute for Pulmonary Critical Care and Sleep Medicine, somebody who's really done a lot of work on the impact. Thank you both so much for joining us, Dr. Khilnani. And I've been venting about air pollution for years and years and years. But if you could just tell us, Dr. Khilnani, for somebody trying to understand what we were talking about, what is it that air pollution actually does to you?
So the air pollution is affecting us in more than one way that we know. And second thing I want to say, no amount of air pollution is safe. If I could talk about the effect of air pollution, these are short-term effects and long-term effects. Short-term effect, we see that, when the air pollution is high during Diwali time, our eyes start smarting, we get sore throat, we get running nose, we become tightness in the chest, there's shortness of breath also. And whenever you see these days people getting viral fever, which should finish in 3 or 5 days time, the cough is continuing for months together. People getting severe asthma attacks, nebulizations are off and on. These are the lung effects. But there are extra pulmonary, as we call it, effects are also, because the air pollution does not only affect lung, it affects when it goes through the lung, and there are ultrafine particulate which traverses through the lung and goes through all over the body and causes heart attacks, strokes, and variety of cancers. Summarizing it, that we talk about life expectancy as the Chicago study has shown, but our quality of life is also affected in the form of frequent cough, heart attacks, brain attacks, also the dementia also is caused by that. So the time has come to take cognizance of it and take action, and this is the job of all of us, including the policymakers.
All right, I'm going to come back, Dr. Kelani, to some of the things that you said, but Anumita, if I could just come to you. It's become clear by now, it's not just a question of Diwali or a question of stubble burning. That toxic smoke hangs not just over Delhi, but over the entire Indo-Gangetic plain not for a few days or for a few months. It's actually for 2 or 3 months that there's toxic poisonous air hanging over this entire region. It's almost unbreathable air for month after month. There's more to it.
You're very right. And that's the reason today why we are saying that you cannot just do spot fixing. You can't just say, okay, I'm going to look at this particular town and that particular city and solve the problem, because you're part of the much larger airshed. And the air pollution and air, they're continuously moving across boundary. They don't follow any political and administrative boundary. So therefore, if we have to clean up a local city, then you also have to clean up the larger airshed. In fact, the study that you were just referring to, it kind of shows that today in India, the same study showing that about 22 states in India, they are actually meeting the national ambient air quality standards, and 15 states are not. And out of the 15 states, 8 states are in Indo-Gangetic Plain. And Indo-Gangetic Plain, which is really the crux of the problem because of its inherent advantage, it is landlocked, no natural ventilation, and therefore whatever pollution that is taking place, and which is very high, it's all getting trapped in that region. And therefore, all through the year, you do have high level of pollution, but winters are especially a problem because that's the time when the atmospheric ventilation, the natural ventilation process gets hugely constricted. No air, calm winds, nothing to blow away the pollution.
Dr. Kelani, let me just get into some of that. There's a crisis period, what Anumita was talking about, that period where it is 300 or 400 on the AQI. And that's obviously a severe period and a crisis period, and that's obviously terrible for you. But even in the rest of the time, when you actually think it's fine, the AQI is 150 or 100, and it seems to be okay, you think the air is better, but even in those times, that's not healthy air. That air is still doing damage to you.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, the PM 2.5, as per the WHO standard, is 5 micrograms per meter cube. And what we are talking, the Indian is of course 40, and what we are breathing in average in daily is 126.5 micrograms. So it's an average. But it is, we all know that even whatever PM 2.5 is a reflection of air pollution, and even the 12 microgram, which happens in California during the fire, is supposed to be harmful. What I'm trying to say is the amount of air pollution which we considered as okay, we are good at AQI of 120 or even satisfactory. Actually, it is not correct. And that is what the Chicago study has shown and very clearly exemplified, that when you improve the quality, like the China has done from 2013 till now, their life expectancy has increased by 2.2 years.
All right, Anamita, if I could just turn back to you. You've studied this at great length. So what are the sources of the air pollution? Because as you said, it's not spot fixing. It can't just be vehicular pollution inside a city, because vehicular pollution will cause problems inside that city. But air pollution actually hangs over the entire region. So there would be other reasons, there would be other causes that vehicular pollution would be making it worse. But there have to be other reasons why it's happening in fields, in rural parts of Uttar Pradesh or Haryana or other areas.
Absolutely. So in fact, a very interesting assessment has been carried out for Indo-Gangetic Plain by the Committee under Central Pollution Control Board after the NGT had given an order, which shows that you really have diverse sources of pollution across this region. So one, of course, vehicles. But vehicles are just not about cars and two-wheelers. These are also the freight movement, the trucks that are traversing the region. And then you have the industry. Imagine today in India, 70% of industry is small-scale units who find it very difficult to employ advanced emission control systems. It is also the kind of energy, the fuel that you're using in your industry, in power plant, in yes, all coal-dominated power plants. You also have a lot of waste accumulation that is getting burned, biomass burning. And now that the region is urbanizing, so the construction activities have increased manyfold. But one source that we often not think about when we talk about outdoor air pollution is the contribution from the chulhas of the poor people's home, right? So the household cooking energy, or the open in the open eateries. In fact, studies have shown they also contribute as much as 25 to 30% of the outdoor air pollution. So it's such a complex mix of pollution across the region that if we have to look for solutions are not a rocket science. Essentially, the solution that we are looking for today is massive energy transition in all sectors, that we have to move towards clean fuel, which is gas or electricity. You have to go for massive mobility transition so that this whole automobile boom that is happening today, you contain that with public transport, walking, cycling, the public transport integration.
So, frankly, a lot of those things that you were speaking about will take time to implement, right? So the immediate crisis that people are looking at, the immediate crisis that we are facing next month and the month after that. Now, what can be done about that? Okay, now we've seen, for example, crackers are going to be banned in cities like Delhi. Stubble burning, we've been talking about solutions. Hopefully, we will move towards solutions in a serious way this year. But what are some of the other things that can actually be done really quickly that can have an impact this year or next year?
So for that, we need to look at more locally. And if we look at Delhi today, for instance, and if we have to prepare for the coming winter, and therefore what we can do. So yes, certainly, and that the biomass burning will have to be controlled. Second, today in a city like Delhi, 30% of Delhi is outside the municipal collection of waste. So we have to ensure that we're integrating the informal waste collection with the municipal waste collection. You need for sectorally, we have to see that what are the possible steps. In Delhi NCR, natural gas has arrived at the doorstep of the industry, but its uptake is very poor because the pricing is not working out. So government needs to step in right away and ensure that the gas pricing is cheaper than the coal.
All right, Dr. Khilani, let me come back to you while all of us wait with infinite and persistent patience that at some point all of this will get cleaned up. At some point we'll be able to breathe, we'll be able to walk, we'll be able to, somehow survive in the winter months. What is it that, to your mind, individuals can do? Because I'm sure individuals keep coming to you. They're concerned. They're seeing these reports. Are you having people coming to you to say, we are worried. We're really worried about the fact that we've got this persistent cough. We've got this child who's got asthma. People who are living, for example, in the NCR feel that there's this cough that lasts with you for month after month, week after week. What is it, in your view, that individuals who are listening to this can do? Air purifiers, I guess, that's one of the things we hear about. Masking. What should they actually do? Are these the solutions?
First message is don't go for early morning walk when the air pollution is hazardous or bad. Second thing is I want to say that air purifiers have no scientifically proved benefit. If somebody thinks that he is keeping an air purifier in his room and he is breathing good air, that is absolutely not correct. If he thinks that his breathing is going to be better, it is absolutely not correct. The meeting that I attended in Geneva was the experts, they clearly dumped air purifiers. Who should use the air purifier? Those who are on oxygen because of the chronic heart or the lung disease, those who are severely incapacitated with chronic obstructive lung disease, they can use air purifier, but the precondition is that air purifier should be of good quality, which has a absorbent as well as adsorbent, which absorbs the gases also. The room has to be air conditioned and completely sealed. If the room, if you keep opening the door for tea and coffee, it totally nullifies. The third thing is the use of mask, which is actually called respirator also. The mask also has close to zero value. And if somebody thinks that the air quality is bad and is using a mask and going for a walk, God forbid, don't do that. You are not getting any benefit. Or it may sound depressing. And actually it is very depressing, but one has to understand the limitation. Whenever the air quality is extremely bad, the susceptible people, that is elderly and those with heart and lung disease, must not go to the crowded places, must not go to the market, just stay indoor till the time. If you want to go for a walk during the bad air quality, go when the sunshine is there, when there's an inversion of air pollutants, when the air pollutants go up, then the air is relatively better at the breathable space. I know it cannot be done by the people who are going to work, but those who are retired and more susceptible, they should actually go to for walk when the sun is bright.
All right. Well, Dr. Khelnani, that was somewhat depressing, because if even masks don't help you, air purifiers don't help you, then really somehow we have to find a macro solution, because, and that's frankly the reason we are doing this program, because answers have to be found. An air pollution season is coming, and we need to start worrying about how we can protect ourselves, start campaigning for real change, because if you're losing 12 years of your life, that's not acceptable. That's a lot of time. That's a lot of years of your life, and you could actually be doing something else. So let's hope that solutions are actually found to this. Anumita Roy Chaudhary, Dr. Khelnani, thank you so much for joining us. All right, let's now move to our regular segment, what the international media and the global press has been saying about India this week. Here's a quick recap for you.
The Financial Times, in a report, has highlighted that India's public digital infrastructure, strengthened by India Stack, serves as a model for other countries looking to boost economic growth and achieve sustainable development goals. As per the report, DPI can play a vital role in reducing poverty and unlocking growth across the African continent. But critics warn that it could jeopardize civil liberties. Coup, India's alternative to Twitter, now known as X, is reportedly facing a funding crunch and is seeking a strategic partner with distribution strength. American online newspaper TechCrunch reported this week, quoting Coup co-founder Mayank Bidavatka. According to the report, the Indian startup, which has raised over $50 million, is facing financial challenges and has approached several players, including Microsoft, to support its continued expansion. According to the American publication Foreign Policy, Indian opposition leader Rahul Gandhi is actively seeking international support to counter Prime Minister Modi's global influence. However, the report suggests that Western allies will fully support Gandhi only if he actively proves his mettle in Indian elections. The publication quoted political experts who said that Gandhi's efforts to attract international attention have not matched Modi's level of support.
Well, one of the other things that clearly seems to be happening is that all of our attention in India is starting to move to 2024. And that, of course, is the general election, which is just a few months away and is never far from people's mind. And over the next few months, we will, of course, continue to take a look at the key issues and some of the things that should be thought about there. Also means A lot of authors, a lot of books are going to start coming about the 2024 elections and what the key highlights are. And one of the first of them, Modi 24, just out from Minhas Merchant, one of the country's best-known journalists. He's been writing for for a long period of time, founded and launched more than 10 magazines and done a number of startups long before that term really became particularly fashionable or popular. Minhas Merchant now joins us. Thank you so much, Minhas, to join us. I'm not going to ask you to predict exactly how many seats which party is going to get in 2024, unless you feel you're in a good position to do that.
Yeah, no, thank you, Vikram, for having me. As far as the 2024 election is concerned, we've got an opposition, India, the acronym India, with 28 parties. When the book went into print 2 months ago, there were 26 parties. So on the back cover, you'll find the 26-party India acronym opposition, and now it's 28, and who knows, tomorrow it'll be 29 or 30. I don't think the BJP should underestimate the power of a combined opposition. We've seen what happened in 2004 when the sort of precursor, in a way, of India was the UPA. They got together 24 parties, or about 21, 22 parties, and they managed to just get 7 seats more than the BJP, 145 against 138. And with the help of the 59 left and the other UPA allies, they managed to form a government against the popular trend. So the BJP cannot afford to be complacent. They think that Mr. Modi is likely to win the election in 2024. I think he probably will, because of not only the arithmetic, but the chemistry that he has. But the India acronym, India, is not something that one should underestimate. And that is, I think, the first thing to be taken note of. As far as the second point, very briefly, is that the opposition, and particularly Rahul Gandhi, Congress, is making a mistake in attacking Modi personally, because Modi knows from past experience in 2014, 2019, that whenever he's been attacked as Chaiwala by one of the senior Congress leaders, and in 2019, Chaukidar Chor Hai by Rahul himself, it's backfired on the opposition, on the Congress, and they plummeted to 44 seats and then to 52 seats. So to attack Modi actually harms the attacker more than the attacked. And Modi is quite happy to be attacked. So Rahul, when he goes to Europe and he criticizes India in the hope that if you badmouth India and Hinduism and many of the other things about our country's progress, then you automatically say Modi is a bad leader and get rid of him in the next election. That's not the way it works.
Right.
It backfires. Yeah.
And actually, when you title your book, for example, Modi 24, is that a factor that certainly Prime Minister Modi is going to almost try and make it a referendum about himself, because his popularity, even after 9 years, is still sky high. I mean, you look at any opinion poll, his personal popularity is still very high, certainly more than that of the BJP. And that's also one of the reasons why there's a difference between the national vote and the state votes, which the opposition often wins the state votes, not necessarily at the national level. So Prime Minister Modi is going to make it a bit of a referendum around himself. That seems to be the general thrust of what your book is also.
Yeah, actually, Vikram, what's happened is that the whole acronym India, which was decided upon at the end of July, at the second meeting of the coalition, it was meant to actually convert India into, a thing which nobody can vote against, because after all, it's India, the name of the country. And therefore, it was actually a brainwave. And everyone rushed from the 26-party coalition to take credit for it. And, Mamata Banerjee said it was my idea. Rahul's people said, no, it was Rahul's idea. Nitish Kumar chipped in and said, no, I'm the one who actually suggested the name. It was meant to be a masterstroke. And then what happened is Bharat came in. Bharat, the dinner invitation, G20, Bharat, when the Prime Minister went to South Africa for the BRICS summit, he was the Prime Minister of Bharat. So now it becomes a Bharat versus India contest. So there are two contests, two twin contests going on. One is Modi versus the rest. That's 28 people. And in that, the mistake is that Modi versus 28 people. So he's a giant, and they are being dwarfed.
Most elections actually are fought on the questions of, has my life actually got better? So in addition to those factors that you're talking about, and I don't doubt that any of them will be major factors, to what extent are the elections also going to be about, what has happened on the economy, what's happened on unemployment, for example, and inflation and prices and the development that has happened and the digital infrastructure and so the good and the bad about the actual business of government and how that has affected people's lives. Because then that's where you'll have a debate where you'll say, well, 80% was good or 20% was bad, and the opposition will say, no, 20% was good and 80% was bad. That's where the debate is sometimes when elections are being held. Will it be any of that, or is it going to be an election about personality?
I think Vikram, that's something which is very important to take note of. The kind of development that has taken place in the past 9.5 years is extraordinary. In the first 5-year term, and this is what I was told in 2014, Mr. Modi is very clear about this. He inherited an economy that was virtually broken. Between 2012 and 2014, we know there was policy paralysis. The Anna Hazare movement had exposed corruption scandals. There was high inflation, low GDP growth. That's one aspect. Second thing is that in the second 5-year term of Mr. Modi, the focus has been on development, on consolidation, the infrastructure build-up, welfare benefits, water on tap, last mile electrification, the digitalization of the economy, and housing, the Mudra loans, and food subsidies. Incredible amount of development.
All right, Minhas Merchant, thank you so much for joining us to talk. Look, this is a subject we're going to go on talking about because it's going to be an important aspect of the India story, what is going to be happening next year in the election. So, Minhas, thank you for joining us and really kick-starting all the debates around 2024 with the first book that is actually out there on the subject. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Well, moving on, the Asian Games have just kicked off, so everybody's attention is on how things are going to go for India and who are the prime medal prospects. Here's a quick summary just for you.
The grand stage of the Asian Games, a fierce contest for continental greatness, is set to unfold over the upcoming fortnight. In Hangzhou, China, this event will witness an impressive gathering with over 12,000 participants, surpassing even the numbers seen at the Olympics. While host China are anticipated to dominate the medal tally once again, India eyes surpassing its previous record of 70 medals achieved at Jakarta 2018. In the last edition, India clinched 16 gold, 23 silver and 31 bronze medals, securing the 8th position in the medal tally. This time, the ambition is to exceed that feat. India have dispatched its largest contingent ever, a robust team comprising 655 members participating across more than 40 disciplines. Anticipation runs high that this time we may touch the coveted 3-digit mark in medals. Renowned athletes like Neeraj Chopra and both men's and women's cricket teams assure a medal at their respective events. In hockey, India is the favoured contender for gold. While badminton remains unpredictable, events such as boxing, where India boasts reigning world champions like Lavlina Borgohain and Nikhat Zareen, leave no room for settling for anything less than gold. Shooting, archery and athletics are poised to fetch India numerous medals, while in chess, India stands as a superpower. R. Pragnananda and others will aspire to bring home the continental glory. Across various disciplines, many talented athletes are prepared to give their utmost at the Asiad as India embarks on the journey to claim gold, fueled by determination and dreams of victory.
And that's a perfect occasion to welcome now one of our newsmakers of the week, somebody who's going to be keeping India's flag flying on the chess table. At the tender age of 10, while most of us were busy exploring the wonders of childhood, this remarkable individual was etching his name into the annals of history, shattering world records. As a 10-year-old, he'd already achieved the title of the youngest master, and just 2 years later, he ascended to the exalted rank of Grandmaster. And imagine, at 16, he was triumphing over world champions. The accolades don't cease there. The list of his accomplishments seems endless. Even though he just turned 18 last month, it was a month that was also marked a significant achievement as he finished runner-up at the Chess World Cup. And we now have the pleasure and the privilege of welcoming chess prodigy Ramesh Babu Pragnananda. It's such a pleasure to talk to you. And first of all, many, many congratulations. You've been having a really fantastic run, haven't you, for the last few months and years?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, true. I mean, the World Cup was one of my best tournaments, and I've also been playing well. My game-wise also I'm playing well, so I'm very happy with the way things have been last few months.
Okay, a short while back, you had this absolutely spectacular moment where you rode in a chariot into your school with your mother. For you, that must have been a really special moment.
Yeah, it was, and coming back to the school where I studied, it feels really a proud moment for sure.
How many years were you at that school, and when you went back there, what did the people there say to you, and what did they do?
Around 14 years from kindergarten to 12th grade, basically.
And is that where you learned to play chess at that school?
No, I learned it outside, but I think they have been a huge support for me. I didn't have to. I didn't really have to focus on my studies. They were there to, help me out whenever I have to give my exams. And huge thanks to them for everything.
But talking about support, I have to say that your mother has almost become a bigger star than you have, because so much attention has been focused on her. She's always there for you, the way she supports you so much. What message would you like to give about her and the role that she's played in your success?
Yeah, I'm very happy to see that usually the players or the person who achieves something gets the recognition, but in this case, I'm also happy that their efforts are also being recognized. I think it's a good thing to see.
All right, let's shift our focus to chess now. Obviously, the World Cup, as that happened, you came very close to the brink of that. Where do you see the path ahead for you, and what are the areas of your game that you think still need to be worked on?
Yeah, and I think my opening needs to be bit better. I mean, in the World Cup, I don't think my opening was something that was giving me some edge. I was just playing well, so that was the main thing. I think in general, I have to be in good shape consistently. And try to play good chess consistently. That's the key.
Now, this time, a lot of people are saying that chess has become dominated by computers and trying to figure out permutations and combinations. And what do you use now? Are you using a lot of technology? Is it more intuitive in your case? Are you seeing what's been happening with artificial intelligence in the world of chess?
I think nowadays computer has become very strong, so we have to use them to learn. And we're also working on our openings. Computers, it's almost must nowadays at the top level. And we are trying to learn with that, trying to learn how to use it, as well as trying to learn from it. And it's very interesting for me to see how it kind of impacts the play.
So coming back to that question of support system again must be very important in things like the Asian Games. We saw at the time, once upon a time with the Soviet Union, Soviet players would be able to perform at a different level in chess because that entire machinery around them of support, they had the ability to get advice from other people from seconds. Are we starting to build that sort of a support system now in India?
I mean, not like that, but yes, India is chess is growing in India, and I'm very happy to see that. And we have a lot of coaches in India, a lot of players coming up, and right, I think the ecosystem is kind of very good, and we have everything coming up. So I'm very happy to see that.
You are, of course, riding on the shoulders of giants like Vishwanathan Anand. There must have been conversation between you and him, and any tips that he might have given you on how you could even become better from where you are?
Yeah, I mean, I've been working with him through Westbridge Chess Academy, and we have been in constant touch and discussed a lot with Anand sir. I've learned a lot, and not only from him, also other coaches from Westbridge Chess Academy. And yeah, I've learned a lot from his games as well. So I mean, he's always an inspiration for me.
So looking ahead now, as you take the next step forwards, what are the next goals and targets that you have in mind for yourself?
Yeah, I want to get my rating up and get to the top 10 soon. And also Asian Games is coming up this month, and also candidates next year. So there are some very strong tournaments coming up. So that will be my focus.
And of course, the big moment now, Asian Games starting. You must clearly, the team must be considered favorites for the gold medal in the Asian Games.
Yeah, I'm playing in the team event, so it's our team is definitely one of the strongest. Maybe the strongest actually. So we have very good chances of getting a medal, and if you all play really well and can have a good chance of a gold medal.
All right, one last question. Magnus Carlsen not going to be there at the Asian Games, but I'm sure he's very much on your mind. Beatable at some point, you think? Is that one of the items you're going to be looking at once the Asian Games are over? How will you beat him? How do you become world champion?
Yeah, I mean, it's very strong. He's the best player in the world. Whenever I play him, I feel like it's an opportunity to learn, and I always give my best. And yeah, to compete with him at like, his level, I think I need to improve further, and I'm working on my chess. So yeah, like whenever I play him, I just enjoy and play. So.
All right, Praggnanandhaa, thank you so much for joining us. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much. And that's all we have time for on this episode of the India Story. But every week we're going to continue to bring you how the India story is playing out around the world. So a special episode coming up for you next week. Do remember to tune in for that. For the moment, from me, Vikram Chandra, thanks a lot for watching, and goodbye.